Okay, so I want to do a quick list of gripes on this thing. So it's done very well. I got it to mow the whole yard. I found out, and I don't see anywhere where I could be guided to this information, but I found it out through trial and error. I drive the machine clear to the corner of the yard and hit start over there. It creates a pattern going this way, back this direction. So I did the first 40% 15 times, and I did the second 40% twice. So that actually is pretty easy to rectify if it gets interrupted in the middle of the whole gig. Then I found out it has this edge cutting routine, which is terrifying because I have this steep embankment on the side of my creek. It's terrifying to see it go over there. You see this big line? So what I've been doing, instead of cutting every day like this guy does, which he's just off now, I guess, instead of having it cut every single day, I've been having it sweep, and I've been putting this crap in my compost, which is like one of the main things that had me pretty excited about this whole gizmo. Was my wife wants the stupid lines, my neighbor thinks the stupid lines are good, but like I get all this material to cover up my food. Whether I'm covering up my food in leaves, or now I can possibly, and I need to try this. I used to shred a lot of cardboard and try to compost it, but my compost wasn't hot enough. I think this is going to help me out a lot because this is a lot of green material for the compost. So some of the cons are, this sweeper does not stop when it's docking. When it comes up to the dock, it should turn off. In fact, when it's coming back, it should turn. If it's full, it should just turn off. There's no reason for this thing to sweep all the way up to the last second that it gets on here. Because when it's sweeping, what it does is it dug a hole right here. I mean, I really don't care, honestly. I don't really care about my yard that much. My yard, I just need to have it cut, and I need to make my wife not yell at me about it. I think watching a little robot get stuck on things is hilarious. It gets stuck on that. It doesn't do a great job there. Has a hard time. Also, this is like a off-limits zone, but it seems to mow here anyway, because it doesn't know where it is sometimes. And in fact, it killed this poor sunflower. I tried to stand it back up, so that means it knocked into its pole. So it probably has knocked everything out of whack by now. This morning, I found it stuck right here, facing this way. It's so dead that it didn't report its own location. The sweeper had done this to the ground. Let me get in the sun here. It had done that to the ground. Again, I don't really care, but that can't be good for the motor. That can't be good for the bag. That can't be good for the machine to just like go infinitely doing nothing, accomplishing nothing. The thing has some pretty interesting maneuvering to get unstuck. Unlike this robot lawnmower, the Works, this thing has some pretty powerful wheels that have a lot of traction. However, sometimes when it's trying to get unstuck, it finds itself way outside of its border, like in the middle of the road, or in the middle of the neighbor's yard, or in the creek, or exactly. So one of the major flaws I see with this thing is that there's no like rear sensor. It doesn't know what's behind it. It doesn't know if there's a cliff behind it. So when it's backing up, if it doesn't know where it is and it doesn't know what's behind it, it's just going to back right into my creek. So I'm kind of terrified of that. And it's quite an expensive toy to see it kill itself like that. So I don't know if I make an off-limit zone or I just let it kill itself and then cry about it later. But some other interesting things. So I had to do like a full mow on Thursday, and it was very hot all weekend, and it was very dry, and we finally got a little bit of rain on Sunday night and Saturday afternoon. So what's interesting is around the tree, it did this pattern like this, like a teardrop shape. I don't want that. That's not cool, but I also don't care. Maybe it'll fix it in the next pass, whatever. I think it's interesting to sweep the whole yard. It pulls up all this vine, the bindweed, or whatever you want to call it, the morning glory. That's cool. It doesn't bang into my tree like the Landroid does, so that's cool. Maybe I can take the protective plastic off my trees now that my trees are a couple years older. Going around the sign, it doesn't do a great job like around the perimeter of the no-go zone. I don't know how it determines the perimeter, like how tight it determines it. If it's by GPS, then it could be all over the place. If it's by vision, like it's optical nonsense, that's also kind of confusing, because what if you had the no-go zone not because of an obstacle, but because you didn't want it to mow there? So I don't know how they're gonna implement logic to account for, I want it to mow right up to the sign. Like, I don't want tall grass around the sign. I purposely didn't weed eat this clover it missed. I think it missed it on purpose. I think it thinks it's a flower, and I'm just gonna let it grow. I don't care. If it gets 10 feet tall, that's cool. The moles make this area more treacherous. So the previous mower used to only mow to about here-ish. And then a year or so after I moved in, the builders skimped me out on concrete here, so they didn't put this here at all. So the city came in and did it, which I probably should have had to have paid for it, but I didn't make any waves about that. That's okay with me. I don't know how the builder got a permit on it. My lot line goes clear over to here, pretty much to here is my lot line. So whatever, but I mowed this little section, which I think is cool, because the city comes over here and they mow it with their big tractor with like a 90-inch mower, and they like bang their brush hog into the gravel and everything. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to prevent erosion a little bit more on this. I don't really care about the city's costs. The city can spend all the money they want to spend, because they're going to anyway. But what I care about is the way that this erodes is, and I had been shown some photos back when the neighborhood was really young, that this whole road had washed out into the creek. So when the neighborhood, far before my house was here, maybe 10, 15 years before my house was here, this had all washed out. So I don't know, the city came by and they cut down this curb so the dump trucks can get back into the sewage dump plant or whatever, I don't know. And now all the water runs right here. So instead of it running down into a drain, which is over there, it runs to here. They weren't smart enough to put a drain on the uphill side of the driveway, because I don't know, they don't know gravity, how it works. So this is gonna wash out forever. So this is, I mean, that's a foot deep. You can break your leg in that. The lawnmower can't traverse that. I'm not even gonna try. In fact, it has a hard time traversing this little dip right here, which is only like 6 inches. It drags, actually those are its wheel marks right there. It drags its, especially when it has the attachment on, it drags it on the concrete and bangs it, and I don't like the sound of it. I don't know, I thought about removing it when I'm not running it, but it's also a lot of twisting, and it's kind of hot and gross outside like it is in Missouri, so why bother? But I thought about just like letting this thing loose on mowing. I thought about setting up another zone on the other side of that little ditch, just a separate zone over here that I never sweep, that I mow. And then it will keep the city from screwing with it. Because if it's always taken care of, the city's not going to screw with it. They're not going to waste time on it. That kid, he wants to watch TikTok in that tractor. He doesn't want to work. I don't blame him either. That fence post right there is my property line right here. So if I mow all the way out to here, then I won't have to clean that up. And my neighbor, I mean, obviously that's theirs. And the city only cares about what's on this side of the gate for some reason. So they're not harassing those neighbors, but this neighbor they are. But no one seems to care, because no one comes back here. But I could mow all this. I could anyway. Similar story with the brush hog down the sidewalk on this side. So the city came in and they poured a sidewalk over here. Oh, that's a big snake. Did I walk over that before? Jesus. I think it's dead. But the city did that. And like, the machine could mow that so easy. I don't know if it's out of range or not, but I'm gonna try to add that as a zone. The machine could mow that so easy. And I know the city doesn't care enough to spray or do anything. So that's like another thing I could sweep and put in my compost. I don't want to mow and sweep my neighbor's yard.